बराबर चलते हैं. So life.
Okay, so hi guys, welcome back. And in this session, we are going to discuss about arrays and strings and how we are going to apply them to our codes and programs and how we are going to use these in real world. So before continuing and before starting the session, I want you guys to tell me if you have any doubts or if you are facing any problem in previous lecture or any lecture above that. Please share those doubts.
I think share तब करेंगे जब कोई on होगा. I think only. Oh,
Okay, yeah, people are
right
okay,
now
okay, okay.
no one watching. Was
Sorry,
it? Only one watching is there. I think.
people are coming then. Okay,
Wait a minute.
okay, no
One
problem.
watching from your side, another from my side. I think YouTube gonna.
You YouTube algorithm disturbed.
I think it are not responding right now. So
Actually, this happens. This happens quite a while, and even in the big YouTubers, and you remember, and this Ranveer Allabadia, right? So
yeah, yeah.
once I was watching his video, and it was uploaded 2 minutes ago, and the likes were 300 something, and views were only 100.
That's a
How is that possible? So
YouTube Baba Jindabad.
like no, there are some faults in YouTube algorithm, and even in this session, and what I'm saying right now, it gives us 10 and a seconds delay. So and this is also like it's basically in a strategizing for data optimization. That's it.
Yeah. So can we start now? Because I think we're gonna start the topic. No? Later
Yeah,
on,
okay. And
other will join.
Amit, give one comment over there that if you have any questions or queries regarding previous sessions, please ask.
Okay. Wait. Amrina. Okay. Wait. Wait. Hi, Abia. I think first of all I will. Oh, four lives. So you can start. I will put it over here. Hello, Amit sir.
Okay.
Okay. Right now there is a Krishna who teach you, not me. Yeah. So say hello to Krishna
Pop-
sir.
Popularity moment.
No, no.
Hey, actually, and Amit, we are
Yeah.
Binod free. Did you notice we are Binod free? In none of our sessions,
No, no, no.
no one commented Binod.
Oh, no, no, no.
All right, and
Good evening to. Okay.
okay, let's start. Let's
Yeah,
start the
yeah,
session.
yeah.
And so, and basically, first of all, let me just show you the problems and why we are using array. First of all, let me open my notepad.
Over there.
What happened?
See the comment.
Okay. अब बोलने का क्या फायदा, अब तुमने बोल दिया. Okay. Yeah. So, Amit, bring me on the front screen from my laptop.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay. He was. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, what our basic syntax was, first of all, declare a class, right? And the class was named anything, but gonna write main over here, right? And then we used to declare a method. What the method was main, right? So public static void main, right? And then there was a string over here. Amit, can you switch off your mic? There's a lot of disturbance. Cool. Thanks, Amit. ARGS, right? And in that in a block we used to write all our codes. So let's suppose that our code require a lot of variables, right, and a lot of integer variables. So what we would do is int a, and that's an integer a, int b, then int c, then int d, right? Let's suppose phone right now, right? So what we are doing here is we are creating an integer, right? And not a integer, we are creating four integers because the program requires four integers to store four values, right? So rather than introducing variables again and again for same type of data set, what we do is, rather than declaring four variables, we declare just one array, right? So array is basically in the combination of in a same type of elements, right? It's basically connection of integers, or it's basically connection of float, or connection of characters, or connection of boolean, and that would be just two, or byte, right? So that is what array does. Now why it is more beneficial to declare an array rather than having four variables, it's because it's, first of all, it's easy to manage, right? Second, and a most important difference is that it is memory efficient. If you have four variables, it's going to cost and all four variables are integer, right? So integer had how many memory allocation? It had four bytes, right? So what would be the total memory allocation required by four variables? That would be 4 into 4, 16, right? But array has only four memory, and it requires only four bytes of memory, right? So that's why it's lot more memory efficient. So just how will I declare a array, we're going to discuss in a few minutes. But first of all, understand why array is required, right? So this is the main primary reason why array is required. And you yourself imagine that you are creating a program for, let's say, 50 students, right? You are creating a student management system, and by the way, that is your assignment for today's lecture. You're creating a student management system using array and strings. So and the data is about 50, right? You have to input data of 50 students. So rather than going and creating 50 variables for students, then wouldn't it be in a sufficient if we create just 50 in a character in a array? That would be more in a, that makes much more sense, right? So that's why arrays are much more preferred, and you're going to use array a lot. Like about 80% of your programs are going to consist array, right? In your real world, when you're solving for companies, when you're going for internships, or you're working on a project, or you're on your startup, right? So how are you going to declare array? How are you going to use it? That's what we're going to discuss in this class. So basically, in looking at the definition, the definition is, an array is a collection of similar type of elements which has continuous memory location, right? So basically what this is, that an array has same type of elements. Array can't have one float, one int, one character. No, it can't have that. Array only can have one type of elements over there, right? So it can be a collection of integers, or byte, or float, or character, but it can't have different at the same time, right? So, and this is the basic definition, and there are not two types of array here. I have mentioned that there are only two types of array, and basically you can have any n number of type of elements and n number of type of arrays. Sorry, not elements, and but they are broadly classified into two. There's one single dimensional array. There is multi-dimensional array, right? So when you are suppose creating a matrix, right? So in that matrix, you can't have just one row, right? That is just one array. No, you have to have several rows and several columns. So that is where we use multi-dimensional array, where it has 2D array, where we have 3D array, even we go up to 4D array sometimes. But that's very rare. Even 3D array are quite rare, and mostly we finish up to 2D array, right? And Amit, have you ever used 4D array?
Yeah, many. If I will made any matrix over there, no?
Right, right,
Collection of some numbers of between we print anything with the different directions dimension, no? So we can put the 4D and 5D also.
right. If I talk about my in a career as programmer, I have never even touched 4D array, because all my work was completed in 3D array. There was one project that I was doing. I can't reveal it right now, and I'm still on that, working on that project. So in that project, the maximum thing that I touched was 3D array. I didn't even go to 4D array. So and by the way, I've worked with a lot of companies. I've till now worked with 10 companies, and in those 10 companies I didn't even touch 3D array. So that's, I'm not discouraging you not to learn 3D array. 3D array are really important, but as a Java developer I haven't used. But you might be using 3D array or 4D array, and specifically 4D array in a many number of times. So as Amit said, and Amit has used it, so and definitely you're going to use it in some point of time. So it's better that you learn another concept rather than cramming about 2D array, 4 and a 3D array, and then 5D array. And rather than doing that, just learn the concept of a multi-dimensional array, right? So this was the basic introduction about array. Now, and how are we going to use this array in real life? And first of all, let's take an example. Imagine that you have a box, right? And you have a plastic box like we used to get in those chocolates we used to get, right? And that plastic box was divided into some sections. Imagine that that plastic box contained chocolates, and in each section, and there were about four sections, right? And so in those four sections you have stored each one chocolate, right? So how are you going to first of all count it, right? You're going to count it from left side, one, two, three, four, right? But in array we don't do that. What we do is we count as from, we begin from zero, right? So zero, one, two, three. This is the main thing that is required in arrays or in strings. The counting begins from zero, because because see, many times you're going to write your code, and then you're going to think that why this runtime error is coming, why it's not giving the output that I want. And this is sometimes it may be because of your giving it wrong indexing. So that's really important. Keep that in mind, that indexing starts from zero, not from one. From left side it starts from zero, right? So this is the basic of an array. Now let's move to another slide, where we're going to declare, how we are going to declare and how we are going to create programs about array, right? So first of all, how are we going to declare array? So you can see over here that to declare any array, you have to first specify the data type, right? I again said that it contains only single type of data. It can't contain float with integer, right? Or any other combination. So first of all, let's define an array int or float or a byte or anything that you like, that is required. So you have first of all given it a data type, right? And then you give it a name. It's an identifier. So then in a name, you're given a name. I have given name here ARR, right? And then you enclose it in square brackets. That's it, right? Now you can type about how many in array size you want. Let's say I want array size 6. I want array size 6. So an array would be created with 6 partitions, right? It can store value up to 6, and you can store 6 integers. Now remember, and if I have created a array with 6 elements to be stored, and so the last index that it has would be 5. It won't be 6, it would be 5, because we are starting from 0, right? So this is how you declare an array. There are several other ways, and but it doesn't matter which way you use in from these, and this is how you basically declare an array. Right now, and you have to initialize an array, right? So in order to give it some data, what you can do is, and you can go, and you can type the data type, then you can type the array, the in an identifier, and then the square bracket. Either you can type what the number you want, but rather than doing that, you can also directly put array inputs. Let's say, and I want input as 1, then comma, then 2, 3, 4, right? So now what it's going to do is, it's automatically going to create an array. It's automatically going to create an array of size 4, right? And it's going to automatically store uh, these four numbers in that array. These four numbers are integers, so it's automatically going to store integer over there, right? So, and this is how you create an array and declare an array. Now let's go to the programming side, right? So I am opening my notepad, and let's copy the code from GitHub. Yeah, example number 1. Right? So if you are coding in IntelliJ IDE, and it's and you should specify this package com.company. But if you're coding in Notepad, you don't need to use this package, so you can remove it. Right? So this is how we're going to basically print an array. Right? This is the most basic operation with array. So what I have done here is, I have declared integer type array, right? And I haven't specified the size of array, but it's totally up to me whether I want to increase this or not. But I can only increase this through the code. I can't use command line over here, right? Because I haven't designed my code in that manner. So here the array size is 4, right? It has value 33, 3, 4, and 5, right? This is the basic value, and this array is storing 4 elements over here, right? Now I want to print it. Now how can I print an array? And can I just simply type system.out.print and array in the name arr? No, we can't do that, right? Because how would the compiler know that which index we are talking about, which index to print, right? So for that, we initialize a for loop. If you don't know the concepts of for loop, go to the previous session, and I have explained all type of conditional statements and for loop over there, and it's quite informative. You can go there, right? So in for loop, I have declared a variable and initialized a variable I that has value 0. So basically my indexing starts from 0, and I have declared array.length. Let's remove this array.length, and I'm going to only type 4 over here, right? 4 is the size of array, right? So again, incremental I plus plus, right? So now what it's gonna do is, now it's gonna start from 0, then it's gonna move the value of I up to 4, right? Then there is a statement, and that is system.out.println arr, that is the identifier of an array, and it has a value I over here. So what, and basically it's going to run the loop, and it's going to run the index in array from index 0 to index 3, because 3 is the maximum, because it's coming from 0, right? So this is, it's going to print an array, this array. Let's run this code in a compiler. I have to declare the package. All right, let's run this. So you see, it's basically printing all the values of array, right? Now let's take another example where we are going to take the input of an array, and we are going to give some operations over there. Okay. Oh, no, no, no. This is another example. This is searching and sorting, which is going to come little bit later in our example. Yeah, this is the one. Right. So, what this array does, no, it's 2D again. Just remove this. I was just, when I was coding this once, I was reviewing this and I just created it in 2D array. No issues. I'm just going to remove the unnecessary part, and then I'm going to explain the 2D part later. Right. So, this is how we are going to read an array. So, for that, first of all, as always, you need to import the scanner package and then create a scanner object. And now, what you have to do is inside the for loop, again, you have to create a for loop with an integer I and with starting from 0. Again, I have declared the size over here. I haven't declared elements right now. I want user to input elements, right? Because in real world, you're always going to take inputs from user. You're not going to give user your inputs, right? So now system.out, and now you just how to read an array. It's basically simple as that. And it's like reading an integer. Like for that, the as that is object, and s dot next int, right? And then you print an array, right? Now let's run this. Now it's demanding input, right? Let's say 1 2 3 4, right? Okay. Acha, now let's do one thing. Let's 1 2 3 4 5. Right. What do you think would happen? What will happen if I type in a 1 2 3 4 5? I give 5 inputs, and the array is designed for 4 inputs only. What would happen in that scenario? Correct. It would only display 1 2 3 4 5 because I have only given the input 4, and like the array size is only 4, right? So it's only going to display 1 2 3 4 5. Simple, right? So this is how we're going to print an array, and this is how we're going to give inputs, and right, and how we're going to take inputs in an array, right? So now, and there was one in a scenario over there, and when I removed the array dot length, what does it do? Array dot length is basically, it is going to give you the length of an array, right? So if I use it over here, that would be arr, right, dot length, right? So it's going to give me the length of the array. So if I run this, it's going to give me 4. First of all, it's demanding input. Yeah, it's again printing because it's inside the loop. That's why it's printing 4 4 4 4 4 again and again again. Right. So this is the method array arr, the name of the array dot length. Right. This is how you're going to determine the length of an particular array. Right. There are many other functions. They are sorting, they are searching. Right. But I'm going to talk about that on later video and later on in this video. Now let's move to some basic other functions, and but these functions, yeah, again I'm going to go to these later. Now when I move to 2D array, but before that, Amit, Are we having any issues? Are we having any doubt?
I think there are no questions regarding this. If anyone has
Okay.
questions, then
Mm.
the voice is not clear. Is it clear or
What?
not? My voice.
Your voice is, yeah, it's clear to me. It's clear to me.
Okay, I think there is no doubt and there are no questions regarding this. If anyone has questions, then please comment. I think it said there is no doubt, so you can start again.
Oh,
Can continue.
okay. 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 Cool. So moving on to 2D array. First, yeah, let's share my screen again. Bring me on the front. So the basic difference between a 1D array and a 2D array is it's simply just that you have basically have two square brackets. It's just that. And there's no other difference between 2D array and 4D array. If you have 4D array, then you're going to have four square brackets, and if you have 3D array, you're going to have three square brackets. So in 2D array, it basically has rows and columns, right? That basically it's just like a matrix, right? You have study matrix in your mathematics in a 12th class, 11th class, and even in college, right? So this in a 2D array is just form of creating matrix in your programming language, right? Let's have some operations over here for 2D array, right? Open my GitHub. Yeah. Yes, this would work. Yeah. Yes. So here if you notice, I have created a 2D array ARR, right? And I have given it a size 4 and 2, right? Now, just like the previous in array, how we were creating the size just like that, but with two square brackets, right? Now create an object scan, right? Now in order to do that, in order to scan the elements, in order to work in 2D array, in 1D array we were creating just one for loop, right? But in 2D array we're going to create two for loops. We were going to use nesting for loop, right? If you have practiced well you might be knowing about nested for loop, or just like nested if else on other nesting cases. Right. So in first for loop, I have created an I over here, right, and I have given it a value 0. Again, it's running to 4, and I have increasing the value, right. And in second for loop, in the nested for loop, I have created a integer value j, right, and it is running up to 2 because I have created 2, right. Now, remember one thing: this 4 over here is number of rows, and 2 over here is in a number of columns, right? So the first square bracket that you're going to give is number of rows, second square bracket that you're going to give is number of columns, right? So this is how it works. And then now under the for loop, if I talk about the for loop content, then you have again just as simple as in the previous things that we have done, and like just like scanning a integer, just like scanning a array is just like that. So ARR and I and j, and then s dot nextInt, right? And a system dot out dot print, and then ARR I j, and now if I just print this over here, then it's going to give me a strip of numbers, right? And but through that strip, how I'm going to visually see that where my row is ending and where my column is ending, right? So for that, I have created another system.out.print where it's going to just simply change the line after every row, right? So now let's just run this code. right? So it's demanding inputs. Let's put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many inputs do we want? I want 8 inputs, right? Because I have 4 columns, 2 rows, and 8, sorry, 4 rows, 2 columns, 7 and 8, right? So see, in a 1, 2, and that's one in a row, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? It's just as simple as that. So this is how 2D array works, right? So if you have any doubt in 2D array, you can ask Amit. Do you have any doubt?
No, I have no doubt, but I have a question to all of you because you have not
Okay, you
asked
have,
any question to the question at right that time. I have a question to all of
yes,
you, right? That yeah, why we are using array and what is the advantage of array? Because we are doing everything with for loop. Okay, we are using with while loop. We can do any with the loops. But why we are creating a concept of array over here? So if you know about that, then comment in the session. Sorry, comment below. Otherwise, question you will
yeah.
give me that answer to me,
Okay, yeah, yeah, cool, cool, cool.
guys. Because I think question is a basic question, na? Why we are using array? Because we are using the for loop over there for initializing or everything. Then why we use of that concept over there? I
Okay,
think
and so
you
as I
need answer
explained
right
in
now.
the starting of the session, and that in a why, like in a imagine this, Priya, you are working on a project, and there are multiple integer type data, right? And if I'm going to give you a example, right? So, and suppose you have to store all your clothing, right? And so, what are you going to do? And are you going to every time buy a new almirah, right? Suppose you have five clothes, right? So, and what are you going to do? Are you going to buy five almirahs for that? No, you're going to store all these in one almirah, right? So, just like that, and if we have same integer type values, so those integer type values are going to be stored in one destination. That would be much more comfortable for us if you're working on that, right? Now, and like let's say, let's take a project, and you're working on a project, and in that project you are required to manage and store about 50 data, right? 50 student data. Now, and rather than creating 50 integer type variables, and wouldn't it be easier for us if we create just an array with size 50, right? So that would be much more easier. It saves memory, and it definitely saves computational power, and it saves human operations, right? And it would, imagine how overwhelming it would be if we are not using data structures, right? Array is the type of data structure, so that would be really difficult for us, right? So this is why we use array over declaring variables again and again, again and again, again and again. So that's why we're using array, right, Amit?
Yeah, I think you are right. But Niru said it save a memory. Do you think it save a memory? It saves a
Acha,
memory. I
है
think.
ना?
If I think it's a can reduce your time and complexity. But I think it's not
Okay,
saving your memory, right?
actually it does. And acha, tell me one thing. If you're creating, and suppose you're working, let's do a simple calculation, right? And if you are working on 50 and suppose 50 variables, right? So, what would be an all integer type? What would be the memory allocation that you need?
Okay, at that time you are saying that at that time you are right. But if if anyone giving a question, okay, if anyone
uh,
giving a question of let us assume I will give you 10 number, I think it is the maximum range of 10 numbers, and you will
uh,
arrange array of 10 10 integers 10 time, okay, space of having
mm,
time. But at that time I have given you question, I have given you 5 integers over there, so it take a 5 memory extra over there, okay.
right,
So
right, right, right.
why you are saying that it saves a memory? It depends on situation. It's saving or not the memo at that time, but it help to reduce the complexity of that whole whole code, because when you are declaring, as you say that, when you are declaring many steps now, so it increase the complexity, and it also help to reduce your time over there,
No,
by
actually, look
compiling.
at. Yeah, let me explain you, and actually look it in that in a that in a sense, and that array is actually in a comprises of what array in a comprises of. What is the one block? Right? Suppose you have an array of in a six, right? Yeah, the array size is six. What is the in a memory allocation by one block?
Can you repeat that question?
I'm asking that if you have an array of six, right? The array size is six, and what would be the memory acquired by one block, right? If you have one index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so what would be the memory allocated by zeroth,
Two
right?
bits.
What would that be?
Okay. You were taking 2 bits of or one of certain
No,
of
that
one
would
block
that
of.
would be one bit. That would be one bit, right? And but in when you're declaring six variables, so what would be the total size? That would be six bits, right? And when you're declaring a variable, and if you're declaring six variables, that would take a lot more memory than that, right? So that's why it's in a easier, and it's in a saving memory.
Yeah, you are right, but you are applying some condition over there, na? It is not necessarily
No,
that arrays every time is saving the memory over there. So I think
so
Deepika has said the
give
right
me
thing. I think
give me an
Deepika said is
example
right thing.
on in which scenario
Yeah,
array doesn't
Deepika is
save.
saying okay,
Uh,
but I think Deepika said the right thing over here. Array
hmm,
is also a constant pointer. That's why maybe. Yeah, it used like a pointer, so it have a connection between the given input, so it helps to reduce the time. I think Krishna, Deepika is right, but
yeah.
I am not agree with your point. At that time it will not save a memory, so
Okay. 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 Okay,
maybe
but yeah,
it saves
see
the memory
again,
at some
as you
running
said,
time.
as you said, it's conditional, right? And
Yeah,
many times it saves memory, and other times it maybe doesn't. But it's definitely easier for a developer to manage such programs, right?
yeah,
Right? You would agree on that
yeah,
point. So it's
yeah,
definitely it's better to use array rather than using tens of hundreds of variables.
yeah, yeah. It's, I
And
have said that.
again definitely the array does one more important thing for us. It reduces the line of codes, right? Maybe
Yeah,
if you are using variables again and again, so it definitely increases the line of code, and greater the line of code, greater your expenses, right? So that's why it's easier for us to declare an array over there rather than declaring lots of variables. So that's why if you would be working in real world scenarios for internships or for jobs, and line of code definitely matters the most, right? And being a DevOps engineer, I understand that in a line of code means in a simple profit and loss. So that's why it's important that you save line of codes, and you minimize the code as much as possible.
hmm. Yeah, that's true.
Actually, that is why Python is preferred over Java in some scenarios. That because Python has a lot of you can just complete the whole data scanning part in just 29 lines. I've created a code about face recognition in Python, and that was just 29 lines. So that's why Python is preferred sometimes over Java. But that's depending
Yeah,
upon
there's a
company to
many
company.
advantage of library na over there,
Yes, yes,
so
definitely.
it
That's why.
reduced that
That's
time.
why.
Yeah.
Right, right,
So
right, right. All
I
right.
think we
So
move forward.
let's move forward and let's talk about searching and sorting, right? So, basically, how we're going to do searching and sorting. And first of all, let me just copy a example. No, not this one. So if you know any other programming language, or if you have done in a little bit of programming yourself in any other language, then you might know how to do searching and sorting. If you know C, and in C, what we used to do is we used to write whole algorithm for searching. We used to learn all that algorithm, and then we used to apply it, and we used to code. We used to create a for loop or a while loop depending upon the search operation, right? So that was really overwhelming, and that was in a really a headache for programmer and for the computer as well, right? So in order to save that, what Java has your methods over there, right? For you're searching for a binary search, for a sorting, right? So then these methods are just one liner, and they replace the whole chunk of block of the code, and when it gives you output as suitable as if you're doing it manually, right? So in order to sort an array, then what you have to do is, first of all, you have to import a package that is java.util.arrays, right? So java.util.array, basically what it does is it's going it's going to, it has packages, and it has all the methods in an array. That's sorting, that's searching, that's equals to, and many other methods which I'm going to discuss in few seconds, few minutes then, right? So first of all, you have to import this package, only then you can work, right? So when you declare an array over here, arr, right? And you give it the input, then I have declared another array, and these are 1D array, right? So I have declared another variables over here, right? So now array dot sort is the method that we are going to use for sorting. And remember, the arrays, a is capital, and this comes as it is, arrays dot sort, right? And in the bracket you're going to write the array name, right? So if I type just over a here, so this would be just a over here, right? So array name is written in the brackets, and then the array is automatically sorted in an increasing order, right? So 10 would come first, then 15, 20, 40, 35, 45, right? And then now I want to give input, right? And so what I'm going to do is, I want to basically search an element in my array, right? So for that, I'm going to first of all define a variable, right? And that variable, I'm going to store the element that is needed to be searched, right? So first of all, I print the array so that I could know that array is sorted or not. Then I have declared a scanner object, right? And then there is integer k. K stands for key, right? It's totally up to you. You write key, flag, count, and you whatever you want, right? So s dot next int is the way where I scan the value, and it is stored in k, right? Now in order to search that, the method that I'm going to use is array dot binary search. This is going to and there are different type of search methods, right? There's linear search, there's binary search. What, wait a second, I am receiving a call. Yeah, bye. And in a linear search, what it does is it runs the array from a first point from 0th to the nth the size of array, right? It's going to run that, and in binary search, the pointer is going to, sorry, in linear search, the pointer is going to run from 0 to n, that is the size of array. And in binary search, what is going to do is it's going to run from 0 to, and one pointer is going to run from 0, one pointer is going to run from nth position, and both would search the element, right? So this is more efficient than linear search. That's why the time complexity of binary search is much less than linear search. Now again, talking about time complexity, and your program needs to be as fast as it can, because again, in order to run the whole program, and it's going, and it's no point if it's taking a lot of time to load, right? The user experience would decrease. So when you're going in real world example, if you're going and applying for any company, or doing internship, or working on any project, it is necessary that you reduce the time that is taken to run the code, right? So that's why time complexity is important. You're going to learn about time complexity in design and algorithm. So that is one subject for computer science students. Then so pay attention in that, because it's really important for interviews as well. Right. So in a system, in a here, and I have to search. So again, the method is that arrays dot binary search. The S for search is capital, and in a array arr, and then the key k. Right. It's going to give me the position of the key where it is stored in my array arr. Right. Now, and I have again I have a method, right, which is arrays dot equal. Right now it is a boolean. It returns a boolean where whether the given array is are in a equal or not. Right. So let's run this code. Let's see. Right. So the array you can see is sorted. Right. Now I want to search, let's suppose 20. Right. So enter the number that you want to search. Actually it should come first, and there's some mistake over here. Just do one thing, control X and control, right. And now the 20 is found at index number 2. Right. So index number 2 is because 10 is at 0, 15 is at 1, and 20 is at 2. Right. So 20 is found at 2, and now it's returning false because both arr and arr2 are not equal. Right. So if I suppose let's make them equal. Right. Okay, wait, yeah, sorry about that. Enter the number I want to search. Let's search 15 this time. 15 is found as index number 1. Why it is returning false over here? Maybe some spacing problem over here. No, it's completely fine. Okay, yes. Yes. Tell me why it's not return. Why it's returning false. Anyone, or Amit, even you can answer.
Can you show the code, Kishore?
Yes.
Hmm.
Why it is returning false? Tell me that. No, Amit, don't answer right now. Let them answer.
Okay, is it okay after
Let them
sorting of
answer. Let them answer.
after
Let
sorting
them
of
answer.
array?
Let them answer first.
Okay,
Let them
okay,
answer first.
okay, okay. Array size is not same.
Guys, if we don't know, type I don't know, or so that Amit could know that it is time for him to be excited and tell the answer. Okay, I guess they don't
Education,
know.
yeah,
Right. So another reason for that is, notice this one line over here.
we are sorted out.
Array. Yes. That is what you were saying, right? Amit,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're right. So we have sorted ARR1, but we haven't sorted ARR2, right? So that's why both arrays are not equal. So if I
Yeah.
remove this over here, will it run? Will it show me the output two or true? Let's see. It's showing me true, but it's showing me index -4 because it's all gone haywire, right? So this is how we basically do. Acha, and note one thing, that array dot binary search operation would only be applied to a sorted array, right? So you have to sort an array before you search an element, right? So make sure that is that so in Python also, that you have to
Yeah,
first sort an array before you search, right? So basically
yeah,
it's universal. Basically it's
yeah,
universal.
yeah.
You have to sort an array before you find anything. So this was basics about array, and I'm waiting for your questions. Please answer now. Please ask now.
Sir, can we pass negative number in array?
Okay, and neg- like you can't have negative size, but you can definitely have negative number, and you can't have the and yeah, right. But the
Can pass
negative
or not?
element note,
I think we
uh,
cannot pass over.
negative
No, we
elements.
cannot pass over. No,
No, yes, we can.
because no. If
The
you
size
are passing the number within by the user, then you cannot pass the negative number over there,
of we have
right?
done, we have created
So
literally programs on
I
that we can pass numbers on that, negative numbers.
I think
Okay, and
after
uh,
okay,
maybe I would get back to you on the group. And according to me, I have done negative elements over there. But you definitely can't have negative size. You can't have negative size or negative index. But you can pass negative integers.
oh, I think you are right. So can we
Yeah.
change size of array in Java after creation?
And
After creating an
see,
any
hmm. Okay, go, Amit, go.
after creating any array, na, if you are known about the data structure over in when you are learn about the C and C++, na, at that time you are creating a dynamic memory and you are creating a dynamic space over there. But right now, when you are creating an array, then it is a static. But after when you are adding data structure over Java, you can also create that array in dynamic form. So you can also increase that.
Exactly. Right, but if your array is static, then you can't increase the size after the program is compiled. Right now, on this question, I would also like to add the next topic, that is string. Right. So in string, this is the same thing. The problem is again the same, that you can't you have defined a string over there, that then you can't change the string. Right. You can't change the content in the string. You can't change the size of the string. Right. And in order to do that, and we don't use dynamic string over there, we use string buffer in Java, right? String buffer and string builder. And that is what we do in order to create a mutable string, that which can be changed and which can have functions like reverse or append, right, Amit?
Yeah, correct.
Hmm. So make sure that you understand this, that string in Java are not mutable. Right. And if you remember my previous lecture, in that previous lecture, I have to create I have to write the whole program block just to reverse the array, just to reverse the string, right? And if you want to do that, you have to actually, in one line, if you want to do that, then you have to create that string into a string mutable, and that is string buffer, right? So, and after that, you can do that. But now let's get from the basics of string. Right. So in a string, what a string basically is, it is basically a string in Java are objects that are backed internally by array, right? Both strings and array are immutable. Just like I said, both strings and array are mutable. And I'm also told you that an array can't be changed. You have to create a dynamic array. And in strings, you have to create a string buffer. But to make a string mutable, we have string builder, and also we have string buffer, right? So what this means is, like in array, I told you that you can have array of integers, you can have array of characters, array of floats, right? So in a string is nothing but in a character, it's an array that is being defined as char, right? So that's why we have a string over here. Now in order to declare it, you just have to write the keyword string and then the name of the string, that is identifier, and you write your string and in a colon, you basically write your string, right? So and let's take an example of this. Let's take example number one here. Right. So in this notice that I have created a string str, and the way the string is created is str new and then the string. Right. If you're creating a string that is and that you want to and a user to input, right, the content is not defined. But if you want to create a string that is already defined, so basically just string s, right, I'm giving it s name and then my name, right. So this is how you basically create a string. And but if you want user to input the content of the string, then definitely declare it like an object and the using the keyword new and then the string, right. Now I have again used a scanner object over here and str s dot next line. Remember that we are using next line over here. We're not using next int. It differs for integer, for a character, for string, right. Now system.out.print str, this is, it would basically print the string, right. For array you had to define the whole for loop, but for strings you don't have to do that. You just have to just type str, right. And notice that there are no square brackets over it, so we have get rid of that also, right. So and it is more easy for us to introduce a string. Right now, and suppose I want a character, right, and let's suppose I want a special letter from my string, right. So let's say I want the character that is at the 0th place, that is the first letter, right. So how I can do that is str dot char at, right. So basically what this method does is it is and you don't have to define it in any, you don't have to define any package, it's already defined in java.lang. And now in order to use this, you have to str dot char at es capital at, and you have to provide the index number, right. And now it would return the uh, letter that is in that string at that index, right. So this is how this method works, char at. Now you want to suppose compare two strings, right, whether they are equal or not, right. So in order to do that, first of all, let's define another string that is str1, right, and I have given it pqr, right. The name is pqr. Now in order to do that, the method is str dot equals now str1, right. So first string that you want to compare, second string that you want to compare, right. And this is how you can do that. Now let's run this code. And no, not here. Let's run this code and let's see. Okay, so let's type a b c d, right. Also notice one thing, that I don't even have to specify the size of the string, right. It is also specified over there. So ABC is printing, and like I said, it has to print, right. So it's printing ABCD. It, and then it's giving me A because it's the first letter, right. Now it's saying false, right, because this method gives boolean. It gives either true or false, right. So it is giving me false over here because both strings PQR and ABCD are not equal. Now let's run a test case where they are equal. PQR. Let's type that, right. So it's giving me true, right. So this is the benefit of using string. But now let's do one thing. Let's store some integers in the string, right. 1 2 3, we can do that, right. So how we can do that? If we have introduced a char array, right, we can't store in a number in a numbers in that, but in string we can do that, right. So in a, and this is one important feature of string as well, because it supports all, and it supports basically what character does is, character is numbers and in a special characters and in letters alphabet, right. So that's why now we can do it in string. Now let's take another example where just, yeah. Okay, so this is the basic program where you have where the you input a letter, right? And that it would give you how many vowels are there, how many consonants, how many digits, and how many spaces are there, right? So this is the basic code. And let's suppose you have created a string and I have named it line over here, right? So the string is you are awesome, right? You definitely are awesome, you all are awesome. So this and then I have created four integers: vowel, consonants, digits, spaces, right? Like now I have converted this whole string into lowercase. In order to do that, what you have to simply do is string name dot to lowercase, right? This is the basic method which we use in order to lower the whole case of the whole string, right? Now I have defined a for loop over here. Again, you can use line dot length. That when we studied array dot length, and you can use line dot length, right? Now there is a character over here. I've introduced a character, right? And again it has I, right? What it would do is it would run the this whole in a string one by one, right? So if in a in any case ch meets a, e, I, o, u, if ch meets any of these, right, so it would increase the vowel by one, right? In the count of vowel by one, right? If it is not satisfied, if a, e, I, o, u is not there, then else if, coming to the else if statement, right? And then it would run from a to z, right? Now if again none of these two conditions are met, then the third condition would be, it would run from 0 to 9. It would search for numbers, right? If on founding every number, it would run, it would basically increase the value digit, right? Now if none of these conditions are met and we have a space over there, then it would increase the space count by one, right? And then it would finally print